He walked onto campus on September 2nd, 1980, his first day at Sullivan County Community College. He did not know anyone there, but everyone knew him. Students waved. A girl hugged him. Someone called out, "Eddie!" and waited for him to respond. His name was not Eddie. His name was Robert Shafran. He was 19 years old. He had been adopted as an infant, and he had no idea that someone had separated him from his identical brothers at birth, on purpose. A student named Michael Domitz connected the dots. "You have to meet Eddie Galland. He was here last year. You look exactly like him." Robert called the number. Eddie picked up. Their voices were identical. When they met, same face, same gestures, same laugh. The New York Post ran the story on the front page. And that is when David Kellman saw the photograph. Because David Kellman looked exactly like both of them. 3 identical strangers, born July 12, 1961, separated within weeks, placed with 3 different families. None of the families were told the others existed, and the files that explain why are sealed at Yale University until 2065. The reunion would make them famous. What came after would break one of them apart. And the records that could explain everything are locked away from the people inside them. I came to this story through adoption records that were not lost, not destroyed, not misplaced. Sealed, deliberately, by the researcher who created them. 2065, 39 years from now. The subjects of the study, the people inside those files, are not allowed to read their own records. The question that drove this investigation was not whether the separation happened. It did. The question was, who authorized it? And why is the answer locked inside a university archive until most of the people it concerns are dead? Louise Wise Services was a respected New York adoption agency, founded in 1916. Thousands of children placed over nearly 90 years. Complete trust. This story has been distorted online into a claim about Jewish organizations experimenting on children. The study was designed by 2 individuals, Dr. Peter Neubauer, a child psychiatrist, and Dr. Viola Bernard, a psychiatric consultant to the agency. From the outside, everything looked normal. Exactly normal enough that no one asked questions for 20 years. The mechanism began with one recommendation. Dr. Viola Bernard advised Louise Wise Services that identical twins and triplets should be separated during adoption. Her stated rationale, documented in internal agency records later obtained through legal proceedings, was that twins raised together would struggle to develop individual identities. Separation, she argued, was in the children's best interest. That was the public justification. Behind it, Dr. Peter Neubauer had designed something else entirely. A longitudinal nature versus nurture study at the Child Development Center, affiliated with the Jewish Board of Guardians in New York. The design was precise. One child placed with a blue-collar family, one with a middle-class family, one with an affluent family. The variable was socioeconomic class. The control was identical DNA. Someone assigned their lives like lab conditions, before they could speak, before they could object, before they could understand what was being done to them. Who decided which child went to which family? The adoptive parents were not told their child had a sibling. They were told that the periodic home visits, researchers arriving with cameras, IQ tests, behavioral checklists, were part of a routine child development study. Some parents later said they were given the impression that participation was a condition of the adoption itself. They were told that the study was the price of the child. Every visit to those homes meant someone already knew more about the child than the parents did. One mother later recalled that the researchers seemed to know things about her son that she had never told anyone. His fears, his habits, his reactions to stress. She thought it was intuition. It was data. They had been watching a genetically identical child in another home, in another borough, raised by another family. And they were comparing. The researchers filmed the children, tested their intelligence, documented their play, their speech, their family interactions. They observed meticulously for years and never once told the families why they were really there. The children were not patients. They were not volunteers. They were not even aware they were part of an experiment. They were simply growing up, and someone was taking notes. And these were not the only children. Based on the Yale Archive Index and investigative reporting by journalist Lawrence Wright and filmmaker Tim Wardle, at least 5 sets of identical twins were separated in addition to the triplets. The full number remains uncertain because the records are sealed. Some researchers have cited as many as 13 subjects. Think about that now. Not later. Now. It is possible that someone alive today does not know they have an identical twin, because a psychiatrist in New York decided in 1960 that their separation would produce useful data. Robert, Eddie, and David did not know any of this when they found each other in 1980. What they knew, they had the same laugh. When one told a joke, the other two laughed before the punchline, because they already knew where it was going. The media loved it. Talk shows, a restaurant in Manhattan called Triplets. The reunion made them famous. What came next was already written in files they would never see. All 3 brothers had struggled with mental health during adolescence. Depression, anxiety, a persistent sense of absence that none of them could name until they were 19. Each had been drawn to the same coping patterns: smoking, restlessness, a need to be surrounded by people, as if searching for someone specific in every room. After the reunion, the differences that the study had deliberately engineered began to surface. Robert's family was affluent. David's was middle class. Eddie's was working class. The parenting was different. The expectations were different. The pressure was different. They found each other and realized they had grown up in 3 separate versions of the same loneliness. They laughed the same way. But when the cameras left, each one returned to his own wound. What does separation do to an identical mind? Eddie Galland was diagnosed with manic depression, what is now called bipolar disorder. He was hospitalized multiple times. He struggled for years, with relationships, with stability, with the weight of knowing that his entire childhood had been an experiment he never consented to. On June 16, 1995, Eddie died by suicide at his home in Maplewood, New Jersey. He was 33 years old. He left behind a wife and a young daughter. His brothers, Robert and David, have said publicly and repeatedly that they believe the separation itself contributed to Eddie's illness. That growing up without his brothers, without knowing they existed, without understanding why he always felt incomplete, that the study, by design, created the conditions that destroyed him. The study did not investigate this. The study did not publish this. As far as the public record shows, the study did not acknowledge Eddie's death at all. The most valuable part of the research was never released. The harm it caused was never measured. Both of those things are true at the same time. Lawrence Wright, writing in The New Yorker, chose one word to describe what happened to the families. The families were duped into believing they were participating in a routine child development study. The CIA's MK Ultra program destroyed nearly all of its records in 1973. 130 boxes survived by accident, misfiled in a financial archive. Neubauer's study did the opposite. The files were not destroyed. They were preserved meticulously and then sealed. One program erased the evidence. The other preserved every detail and made sure no one could read it for a century. Dr. Peter Neubauer died in 2008 at the age of 95. He never faced a hearing, a lawsuit, or a public inquiry. He donated the research materials to Yale with one stipulation: sealed until 2065. When asked why, he said the data was not ready and that releasing it would violate the subject's privacy. The subject's privacy. The same subjects who were separated without consent, studied without knowledge, and filmed in their homes under false pretenses. Dr. Viola Bernard died in 1998. She also never published. Neither was ever questioned. If the science mattered, why was it buried? If it did not matter, why is it still sealed? 1961. Triplets born, separated. 3 homes, 3 classes. 1980. 3 brothers find each other. 19 years of silence, broken by accident. 1995. Eddie Galland dies by suicide, age 33. 2008. Neubauer dies, files sealed at Yale, until 2065. Between 1995 and 2065, 70 years of sealed files. The experiment ended decades ago. The sentence did not. Robert Shafran and David Kellman are alive today. They are in their mid-60s. After years of legal pressure, they received some of Neubauer's files. Heavily redacted, pages missing, no conclusions, no explanation for the separation, no acknowledgement of what it cost them. Some people, separated by Louise Wise Services, discovered their twin in their 50s. Some applied to Yale for access to their own records. The requests were denied. When the seal expires, some of them will be over 100 years old. Some will already be gone, and some may never know. The filmmaker Tim Wardle, during production of 3 Identical Strangers in 2018, identified separated twins who had not yet found each other. Some of those people may be watching this right now. If you were adopted through Louise Wise Services in the 1960s or 1970s, this may be part of your story. The records exist. They are in a building at Yale, and someone decided you are not allowed to read them until you are very, very old. 1 brother died. 2 grew old chasing answers. The files stayed sealed behind glass. No apology, no published science, no closure. Eddie Galland never got to read his file. His daughter is now roughly the age he was when he died. And someone decided that was acceptable. The records are sealed, but sometimes the most destructive thing is not what is hidden, it is what is renamed. In the next investigation, a community was burned to the ground in one night. The insurance companies called it a riot. No one ever had to pay. That story is next.